Hello everyone, and what is going on? It's me, your host, Max Pears. In this episode, well you know it, it's that time which we break it all down, where it's my essential reading. Hey everyone, I hope you are well, playing and or making the games that you love. As I said, you're joining me, and it is that time again of the podcast where we talk about the essential readings. And for those of you who are recently new to the podcast, it is essentially where I throw out some of the best kind of reading materials that I found during the month and recommend it to all of you amazing people, because it's about sharing and it's about growing. This community is amazing, and the great thing about it is we all want to learn and get better. So with that, I made this essential reading spin-off where I talk about some of the best things that, like I said, that I found useful and really enjoyed. So let's just deep dive straight into it. Oh, just before we do though, I want to say that it has been great to finally have time to read again. As many of you probably know, I've been really busy over the last couple of months, so to be able to get a chance to go through other people's work, read through that and catch up on many things, because I haven't had a chance to as much as I would have liked to, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm back on it now, and it's great to be back on it. And let's go straight into the first one. And the first one is Introduction to Level Design, and this is on 80 level. So this is written by a level designer already. I'm sorry, sir, the name's already escaped me. I really apologize. But what I really like about this designer already from the get-go is he's talking about this course that he took. Now, it's ran by one of the lead game designers at Naughty Dog. And he talks about the course and what he's learned from this, which I thought was great on many reasons. Many reasons I've heard about this course already. I think it's a great course from what everyone has told me, and it's one I'm thinking about going into. And he breaks down what he's learned from this. And he's already an experienced level designer, worked on a few projects already. But it's really interesting to see. Well, firstly, I just want to applaud him and all these people who are sharing the knowledge, because it's great that one thing that people are already sharing this knowledge. The course does cost, I think it's about $1,000, but it's a month-long course. All of that will be shared in the link to the article. And it's talking about using different ways of composition that he's found after doing this, different sort of landmarks which can be used to help mental map his levels as well, and using focal lines to draw the attention to the objectives. Now, some of that stuff you'll already know for sure. But again, I think it's really great that he already, with his projects he's already released, is taking the time to get better. And I really like that. It's not about ego, and it shouldn't be about ego in this industry. So I thought it was brilliant. And the level he did is a Western kind of themed town is great. It looks great from what I saw for sure. So no, it's really cool. I really liked reading that. It's a great one. There'll be a link to all of these in the description down below. But it's cool, again, just sharing some of the information that he learned and how he's now taking the time to apply it. So that's a really good one. I recommend checking that one out. I enjoyed that one. It's a quick read as well. There's a lot of pictures, again, showing how he has moved through the level, which I thought was brilliant. Now we're on to article number 2, which I really loved this. It's co-op play in Overcooked, and this is on Gamasutra. And it's about how the team really focused on the cooperative experience. I'm sure many of you have played Overcooked. For those who have not, Overcooked is a game where you can play with up to 4 players in total, where you are chefs and you have to make certain meals before the time runs out. And it's about working together to get the best score that you possibly can. And the levels and just the whole experience is a frantic one. If you do want to play it with a partner, be careful, because this will ruin relationships. It's a great one, though. The game is fantastic. I absolutely love it. But what I enjoyed about this was them talking about, like, how did they get there? How did they boil things down to that core experience which makes Overcooked. They talk about the design philosophy, how they spent time playing other cooperative games, but they felt it wasn't so much cooperative, more like you did stuff, and it's going to sound silly and trying to find the way I'm trying to find the right way to phrase it, but how you actually do things together, not about shooting enemies together or press a button at the same time, but actually just bring however many of you together to communicate to work for the best result, which in this case was the highest score. And then they can move on to the pillar of the game, which is the co-op experience. And some of you may have already read one of my articles, but I talk about the core pillars of a game. I think that is super important to when you are making a game, to making sure that you have the understanding of what the pillars are, or a pillar of the game is, because that way it helps unite people's vision when they're making the game, because you understand that it has to hit, it's all about that pillar. So that was great. Then there's some more things that they break down, like time delays, how important that is. The reason they chose to have time delays is certain things like for example, when you go deliver a food, it takes a couple seconds or minutes to get those plates back in order for you to watch them, or it takes a few seconds to cook the meat. So making sure that those time delays are in there, so you can't just stand still, that players again have to understand how to use that time efficiently. It was a really good one. And they also talk a little bit about level design and how they create these paths and making it so if you haven't played it, I've got some great level design for it. Like, the level design really, really pushes, is really used to help enforce that cooperative play, whether the level's moving around you or the path is never a straight line. So there's always communication. So that's a really, really good one. So yeah, do check that one out. It's one that I really, really enjoyed reading. The third one is on Kotaku, and it's talking about the creators of Dead Cell, which is one of the big games that's just recently come out, and it's talking about how they run as a studio. Now, we spoke a little bit on the previous Q&A about how indie studios work, how important it is to understand how to finance and how to manage people. It's a different skill, but it is a necessary skill, that is for sure. And it's really interesting because they don't have any bosses despite being indie. Everyone is paid. I believe it said everyone is paid the same. Do double check me when I say that. I just think it's a very, very cool one on how it's about debate. It's not having someone to have full right. Like, they speak about is this a good idea, and they talk of it more of as a democracy, if you will. And it's a very interesting one. I thought that one is worth a read because it's just showing the other side of game making. If people are interested in going indie, I know there are some indies already who listen to this podcast and some planning to go indie. So have a look at that, because I think the technique was very interesting. And again, it's always fascinating to learn about the other side of this. So do check that out. Now, before we move on to the last two remaining of my recommendations for the essential reading, we're going to go to a quick word about the Patreon and how you can help Level Design Lobby improve.
If you love game and level design as much as we do, then why not consider supporting Level Design Lobby on Patreon? Patreon is a crowdfunding platform that allows people to directly fund the content and creators that they love. From as little as $1 per month, you can help support us in our mission to unite and teach people across the world about the wonderful and unique field of game and level design, and get some great reward perks in return, such as access to the Level Design Lobby community Discord, bi-monthly webinars, level design weekends, and much more. So head on over to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. Finally, we'd just like to say a massive thank you to all our current backers. It's thanks to the generous support of people like you that we are able to grow and can continue to bring you awesome, new and exciting content. So thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that. And it's really nice to say thank you again to all the amazing people who already back me on Patreon. It's great to have the support, and I hope you all have seen the quality as well as the content get better as well, because we've got some amazing things going on for all the work. So now let's go on to the fourth one. This was an amazing episode. I really truly enjoyed this, and it was the Psychology of Video Games podcast. Many of you will have heard me mention it before. I'm a huge fan of the show. I really enjoy it. And it's episode 37. In that episode is an interview with Dr. Celia Hordent. She previously worked at Epic Games on Fortnite and many others as a UX designer, about that user experience. And it was fascinating to me. I absolutely loved this. They talk a lot about Fortnite. They've talked about other things, because now she is a consultant, which I think is brilliant as well, because it's another sort of option, I think, especially for designers. When you look at the field and the layout of our industry, you get a lot of freelance artists, concept modelers, props. But on the design side, there's not many freelancers or consulting on either level design or game design or even user experience design. So it's fascinating and amazing and exciting to hear how she is, especially because Fortnite has done so well. As we know, it's probably the most popular and probably the most played game at this current time I'm recording. But the fact that she has gone from that and gone to start her own business is amazing. And I hope it, I believe it is going well, and I hope it continues to go well, because I think that's just fascinating to see another side of the business to grow, another option for designers later, that it's not just about AAA or indie, that you have these other options. So I think that was really cool and seriously fascinating me to hear about. But then she talks a lot about Fortnite and how the user experience with that, if you think about Battle Royale, that was not on launch. That came later. But the crafting was one of the core, I believe, pillars, especially when they started making games, especially when they announced the game. But saying how the user experience to the menu, to craft and to build, to then putting it actually in to the Battle Royale, and having that Battle Royale count, having that Battle Royale come into the game, and how to combine those elements together. She talks in depth about how they did this and how important it was for the testing and the constant iteration. Even when the game was released, how they constantly iterated on these to make sure it got better and better. And it was a great one. I don't want to give too much away, because I thought the podcast was amazing. One of my favorite episodes. I've been very, very fortunate enough to pick up the book. She has wrote a book called The Gamer's Brain, which is about user experience. I've only just started it. I'm only X many pages in, but I'm absolutely enjoying it. So do check this one out. I think it was an amazing episode, one of my personal favorites. And the podcast is phenomenal. I absolutely love listening to that podcast. So brilliant one there. Great, definitely great. Now we're going to move on to the final recommendation, which is called Mechanics of World Building. This is also on Gamma Sutra. And this is a really cool one, because as more and more games currently are open world, or at least a very, very big map, that is for sure, is we're talking more about world building and how games can get the most out of it. And in this one, it uses Stalker as its primary example, talking about how they used certain proppings and even the areas that you visited on missions to tell the story of their experience in Chernobyl and how people survive in that world. It's really important for this. The Batman series, the Arkham series, are some of the best at doing this, their environmental storytelling, because not only is it great because bear in mind, Stalker and Batman came out at very different times, very different, technology available between the two. I think I've only played a little bit of Stalker, seen a bit. I did the interview with Dan, who's one of his favourite games. But what I'll say is Stalker seems to have some amazing elements to it. But Batman's series does it better because it's breathing. Because when a different boss comes, not so much in Arkham Knight, but especially in Asylum, when a different boss takes the limelight, the actual areas change. So when it was Poison Ivy, suddenly the island had come overgrown. But when it became back to the Joker, all that vine and foliage had gone, but now there was graffiti of clowns around. So it's talking a lot about this, how techniques are used, and we did a lot of this in the Division as well. It was great fun. Primarily, it will be some. It normally goes to the environment artists, from my experience. Not all the time. Level designers can pitch in things as well, which is great, as well as other people, obviously. And yeah, I just think it's super important, especially if you are wanting to get into open world games. Then this is a really great article, because it's not always about. And think about this when I say this. It's not always about the big combat moments as well, especially in open world games, because a lot of time is spent traversing and exploring. And that's why world building is so important, because it encourages exploration, but also deepens the world because of this. So check it out. It was a really good article on it, and it's just cool again to see what everyone is doing. So thank you all very much. This is going to be all of my recommendations. I do have an announcement to make, though. During the month of September, there is not going to be the traditional 4 episodes. There might only be 1 or 2 episodes done in September. And the reason being is because I'm going to take September off from the podcast. I will be coming back in October. There's no issues there. It's just that will be a year since I started the podcast. A year. How crazy is that? I'm honestly blown away that this has happened. So, thank you, all of you. There's nothing. I said, this isn't stopping. This is literally just me taking a break. I always wanted to take a break every time a year swung around. I thought that was very important. I've seen a lot of people who do podcasts and YouTube videos get stressed out and end up just, having a bit of a mental breakdown, some of them, or not dealing with stress in the right way. And I'm not not there. But I do think it is important for everyone to take a break every once in a while. So that is why I've decided just for that month to do that. Work's been very intense as well, so I want to take some time to actually play video games, because honestly I feel I haven't had a great chance to do that. And my job, not only as a level designer but as the host of the podcast, is to give you in-depth content. And if I haven't had a chance to play games, then I'm doing you all a disservice, and that's not what I want to do. So as I said, there will still be a couple of episodes, but it is not going to be as it currently is, which is crazy that we're at an episode a week. I don't know how that happened, by the way. If you go back to when I started, I was just going to do 1 episode every 2 weeks. So I don't know how we got here, but we are, and it's been brilliant. So there'll still be stuff there, but it'll be a lot more lighter, the content. I will be on Twitch a lot more, though, because I'll just be playing through games, so you can come join me on Twitch, which is just Level Design Lobby. Come follow me on there. I'll just be playing through certain games, which I'll stream across to everyone, and we can all just talk about the game just a bit more chilled. It won't be a webinar or anything like that. Just talk about it as I play through it. I think also I want to, for those who didn't know, I did the Level Design Weekend a couple of weekends ago. Sadly, I was busy at work, so I wasn't able to join and participate. But I'd also like to maybe stream me doing that, if not in September, very soon. But I'd like to show that as well, because I want to get in and do some personal level design as well. Also, I am going to be giving a talk in September, which is exciting, over in Portugal. I can't wait for it. There'll be links in the description down below about that. So if you are in Europe and do want to attend, please do. I'd love to see you there. We can chat. You can see my talk. It will be about level design, understanding the space, and mental mapping. So I also want to spend time working on that talk. I think it's really important that I give a great talk, because they're kind enough to welcome me to do a talk, and I want to make sure I give back. So this is why I'm just going to take a little bit of time off from it. So yeah, now that you've heard the ramblings of a madman, thank you all very, very much for listening. Much again, just for all the support. I can't believe it's coming up to a year. That is crazy. So thank you all very, very much. All right, take it easy, everyone. I'll catch you all next time.